This is B.3, converting between fractions and decimals. A terminating decimal is a decimal that ends, and a repeating decimal is a decimal that has a pattern that repeats. It could be the same number over and over again, or it could be a pattern of numbers. And whichever numbers get repeated are the numbers that get a bar over them in our answer, so that I don't have to write as many as I can on the page. So to convert between fractions and decimals, we're going to write this fraction as a decimal. So negative 2 and 1/4. I'm going to make this an improper fraction. 2 times 4 is 8, plus 1 is 9. So this is negative 9 over 4. And the numerator gets divided by the denominator. So the 9 goes on the inside of my division symbol, and the denominator goes on the outside over here. So in doing my long division, I can see that my answer is negative 2.25. To rewrite negative 6 over 11 as a fraction, I'm going to do long division, and my answer, I can see that I get a pattern here, because I get 60 minus 55 is 5, and I already did that at this point, so it's going to be 5, 4, 5, 4, 5, 4. So I put a line over the 5, 4. And for negative 1 2/3, I would change this to an improper fraction and then have 5 divided by 3 and see that I will also get a pattern, because I do 20, which is 6 times to get 18, subtract and I get 2, bring down a 0, and that's 20, and I just did that. So the 6's came from the 20, and those are going to be repeated. So that's negative 1.6 repeating. Any terminating decimal can be written as a fraction whose denominator is a power of 10. We can simplify the resulting fraction from dividing out any common factors. So that means we can simplify them. So to go from a decimal to a fraction, we're going to write them in simplest form. Negative 0.28, I could say that as negative 28 hundredths. However many numbers are after the decimal place is the number of zeros that I put in the denominator. So since this has 2 numbers after the decimal, I put 2 zeros after the 1. So I have 100. That's 28 hundredths. Then I can reduce my fraction, divide each by 4 to get negative 7 over 25. For negative 0.125, that's 125 thousandths. I have 3 numbers after the decimal place, so I put 3 zeros in the denominator. Then I'm going to reduce, divide by 5 to get 25 over 200. I see that they end in a 5 and a 0 again, so I can divide by 5, or I know that 25 goes into 200, so I can divide by 25 to get 1/8. So we have another example of this, where we have 3.268, and since there are 3 numbers after the decimal place, I put it over 1,000 and reduce. Now the table shows the elevations of 4 sea creatures relative to sea level. Which of the sea creatures are deeper than the whale? So to compare these numbers, I need to have them in the same form. All fractions or all decimals. If I choose fractions, they have to have common denominators. So I think that it's going to be easier to put them all as decimals rather than finding a common denominator for all of those. So if I take negative 13 over 10 and rewrite it as a decimal, I get negative 1.3. Negative 2/11ths, do my division, and I get negative 0.18 repeating. Negative 2 1/5, I can rewrite as negative 2.2. And then the last number I have is 0.8, negative 0.8. So if I put those all in order, I can see that I have negative 0.18 repeating, negative 0.8, negative 1.3, and negative 2.2. And that would be the shark, the whale, the anglerfish, and the squid. So which ones are deeper than the whale? The ones that have lower elevations. They're further away from sea level. They are more negative. So the anglerfish and the squid are deeper than the whale.